Hi and welcome back. So there is a question that I would now like to ask you in this video. Well, as it happens, there's actually quite a few questions, but the main overriding question is this: how cognitively flexible are you? How flexible are you in your thinking? Are you rigid? Are you stiff? Have you decided that you've got all of the answers for life? Do you tend sometimes to see yourself as having a set of beliefs that are the set of beliefs? You know, the main set of beliefs? Have you ever found yourself part of a social group? Perhaps you're of a religious ideology or you have a political perspective. And from your perspective is the right perspective. Anyone who has a different perspective than you is of the wrong perspective. Kind of like there is such a thing as right and wrong in life, good or bad. Everyone who buys into your way of looking at life, your way of thinking, is good. Everyone who doesn't, goes without saying, they're bad. Listen, all joking aside, this is quite a serious idea, isn't it? You know, do you have an open mind or are you closed? Is your mindset growth orientated, where you're constantly looking to find new ideas, new perspectives to help you sharpen yours up? Or are you the kind of person who tends more to agree or disagree with things, kind of like you already have all of the answers that you need? Listen, some people go through life kind of like with the blinkers on, off the assumption that there is no degree of truth outside of that which they've experienced. And what I essentially mean by this is that some people go through life having experiences, and just because they cannot relate to any other experience than the ones they've had, that any other experience that anyone else could have just doesn't exist. It's kind of like some people will say, I am atheist, God doesn't exist because I was there right back at the dawn of time and I saw it all happen. Then you have some people who say, going back 3 million years ago, there was this big bang. I'm terribly sorry. Did someone capture this on iPhone camera? Did someone catch this on CCTV footage? How on earth could anyone, I don't care how scientific anyone is, how could anyone on this planet, you know, human beings who live to maximum a measly 100 years old, very, very few people live to 100, how could anyone, rationally minded person, claim to know what happened 3 million years ago or what happened back at the dawn of time? So it doesn't really matter whether it comes to political ideology, whether it's religious ideology, whether people believe in deities, if they're into theism, atheism, doesn't really make any difference. No one actually knows what goes on out there. We have ideas, we have pictures inside of our mind, but outside of that, it's all just guesswork. Many people live out their days upon nothing more than hope that what they think is true is true. There are many people live their lives petrified and making mistakes because they desperately want to get into a heaven that they think exists, maybe somewhere up in the clouds. Listen, I'm not undermining any perspective here. I'm just saying that there is not any one-size-fits-all approach that we can take towards life. No one actually knows whether there's life after death. No one actually knows whether there was life before this life, whether we have multiple lives. Some religions believe that people come back as rats and cats and dogs and donkeys and all this kind of stuff, but it's all guesswork. All right? The problem that we have is when we become so fixed, so focused on one perspective or one idea, that we end up dismissing anything outside of this frame of reference as being untrue or being false or being inaccurate. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some pretty whacked out ideas getting branded around in today's internet, such as the world is flat. You got the flat worlders. Some guy over in America, I think he's in his 50s, we've seen him on, he even makes his way into TV talk shows, I really have no idea how, advocating that the world is flat. He thinks that the world is in some sort of bubble, there's some sort of huge conspiracy thing going on. Why? Who stands to benefit from creating an international conspiracy that the world is flat? My goodness, I honestly thought we'd kind of surpassed this as a human species like thousands of years ago, but nope. Some people get some whacked out ideas and then deceive themselves into thinking that their ideas are real, regardless of what truth and what facts undermine their ideas. Now listen, it's true for the flat worlders, it's true for all sorts of ideologies in life, and it's also going to be true for some of your beliefs, some of your worldviews and perspectives. There are going to be some things that you believe to be true that are not true. There are some opinions you arrive at that are just so far removed from the truth that it's unreal. An ancient Greek philosopher called Plato once had an opinion about opinions, as it happens. He once said that opinion is kind of this medium that sits somewhere in between knowledge of truth and ignorance of truth. All right, a lot of people place a lot of weight on their opinion and become inflexible in their willingness to consider any other perspective that differs from their own. So, what I want to talk about here is cognitive capacity, right? How willing are you to increase your cognitive capacity? How willing are you to consider ideas that sit outside of your preferences, outside of your frame of reference? Your frame of reference is just simply what it is you reference when you're making decisions. All right, i.e. all of the life experiences that you've had, all of your memories, all of your past interpretations, and so on and so forth. So, let us look at growing your cognitive capacity. Now, over the next couple of videos, I want to explore the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. In the next video in particular, I want to have a look at the various attitudes that we'll take towards different aspects of our lives. I want to explore the attitude that we'll take towards things when we're off a fixed mindset and the attitude that we'll tend to take towards things when we are off a growth-orientated mindset, because this will give you context for doing a bit of a contrastive analysis on your own mindset and just how flexible you are in your own thinking. So here, what I want to do, I just want to get you warmed up because things are about to get a little bit abstract, right? This is what happens when we begin to explore the inner workings of our human mind. So here's a couple of questions that I want to ask you, and I want you to not think about them. Don't voice an opinion. Please do not approach these questions from the perspective that you have arrived at the universal truth or that you have the correct answer, right? That is not how we develop cognitive flexibility. Instead, we allow ourselves time and space to ponder, to reflect, to consider. And it's actually okay if we don't arrive at a definitive conclusion. All right, this is what it means to reflect. I wonder what may be. I am not willing to assume that I have all of the answers, that I have arrived at the definitive correct assumption. No. When we ponder, we allow space and wiggle room for there to be other perspectives. There's possibly even some things that we haven't yet considered. We also acknowledge this. All right, so here's a couple of questions. You're going to find these in a mini resource that you can access via the downloadable materials section, all right, to evaluate how cognitively flexible you are, all right? How much room is there for new ideas or degrees of truth inside of your existing frame of reference? So here are the questions, all right? I'm going to read them out, pass the baton over to you. You download the worksheet. Spend half an hour or a day or a week reflecting upon them, all right? And it's not, remember, it's not about coming up with answers, it's just about reflecting and just seeing what you see, seeing what you come up with, right? Where do your thoughts come from? When thoughts pop into your mind, where do they pop into your mind from? Do you create your thoughts, or do you just think about the thoughts that come in from elsewhere, all right? Is there a God? Is there a devil running about somewhere? Is there a battle for your soul? What conclusion? What have you been told? What theological perspectives have you been subjected to in life? What philosophical perspectives have you been subjected to in life? Whether you're aware of these perspectives or not, right? What do you assume to be true? Where do your thoughts actually come from? Are you making up all your thoughts? And if so, why would you make up so many negative thoughts about yourself sometimes? All right, riddle me that one, Batman. Right, where do your thoughts come from? Question number one. Question number two, how could you define yourself and your identity without putting yourself in a box? How could you define yourself in a way that only allows for your ongoing growth and development? All right, come on. I'm provoking you here to unlock your mind, right? To think in unrestrictive ways. Question number three, in what aspects of your life do you already have peace of mind? even if it's only one or two areas, and there can be many aspects of our lives, can't there? Right? Because here's the thing, if we can identify an area of our life in which we have peace of mind, which we're totally okay with, then we've developed a strategy already for living life in a place of peace of mind, which means that the strategy can actually be applied to all areas of our life. Fascinating idea, isn't it? So in what aspects of your life do you have peace of mind? I guarantee if you focus on the areas in your life where you already have peace of mind, you will experience peace of mind. The problem that most people have is they focus on the areas in their life where they don't have effective strategies or processes in place to generate the results that they want, in which they have no peace of mind, so they end up being in this place where they have no peace of mind. And this causes them angst and tension and pressure and stress and sometimes sadness or depression or something like this. So as human beings, we have this tendency of generating our emotional experiences by thinking about certain things. All right, interesting, isn't it? Right, in what ways does your life serve a greater purpose? What is your greatest purpose in life? Is the purpose of life to be happy? Because some people say that. I certainly wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of those people's parenting or advice, that's for certain. Right, what's the greatest purpose of your life? Is it to be happy? Is it to have a nice time? Is the greatest purpose of your life to make money? Is it to find your one true love? Is it to build something? Is it to do some good? Is it to contribute back into society in some way? Is the purpose of your life to change the world? Maybe change the world of one person. Maybe change the world on a geographical scale. What's the purpose of your life? Is it a purpose of your life? Does life have no purpose? If life has no purpose, then I guess that there's no point in ever hoping for anything better than what you currently have. If life has no purpose, then you might as well just go and be pretty sad. If my life had no purpose, I'd be pretty sad about that. So I guess you have the final say in the matter. Does your life have a purpose? Yes or no? Right, the response that you give will determine how it is that you go on to experience the rest of your life. Okay. What don't you know that you would really benefit from knowing today? Right, that'll send you into a really reflective space. Right, what don't you know that you would really benefit from knowing today? Or do you know it all? Right, are you a one-person encyclopedia? Have you experienced all that life has to offer? Do you have all the answers? Do you know it all? Now, if you're slightly rationally minded with an opinion, there's a pretty good chance, you know much. But just from your perspective, all right? What don't you know that you might really benefit from knowing? Do you know how to build effective, loving, wholesome relationships? Do you know how to bring out the best in people? Do you know how to influence people without manipulating them or trying to control them or being all authoritative or overly assertive? Do you know how to nurture the best in people? Do you know how to win friends and influence people? Do you know how to regulate and manage your finances? Do you know how to generate abundant wealth? Do you know any of these things? Have you done it? Do you know how to share the lessons that you've learned with other people? What don't you know that you need to know today? What would make your life more purposeful? Right? Because I guess that might be something that we could invest a little bit of time into seeing if we can find some answers for. What limitations do you have that aren't self-imposed? Come on, you are most likely as aware as I am that some people go through life, I can't do this, which is why I feel sad. I can't do that, which is why I have a mental disorder. I can't do this, which is why I'm burning with anxiety in my stomach. I can't do that, which is why I'm stressed out. I can't do this. I can't do that. I shouldn't do this. I mustn't do that. All these musts and shoulds and should nots and cannots and maybe I must nevers and things like that. It's kind of like the rules that we live our lives by. There is such a thing as the law of the land. The law of the land are the laws, the governed rules that our governments put in place for the proposed betterment of the people of our great nations. All right? But then there's the rules that we impose upon ourselves. There's the things that we think we can do. There's the things that we think we can't do. The things that we think we must do, that we should be doing in life. Then there's the things that we think we shouldn't be doing, mustn't be doing, can't be doing, couldn't possibly be doing. So here's the question. What limitations do you have that aren't self-imposed? Riddle me this one. Honestly, get clear. Know yourself. Knowing yourself is the root of all wisdom. how can you peacefully begin to coexist with uncertainty? All right? What would living well with uncertainty look like? Because most people experience a little bit of uncertainty and then panic or get stressed out or get really anxious. Then they're queuing up outside of the therapist's office or want to speak to a counsellor or a mental health worker or going and getting some diazepam or some medication to help them regulate their emotions, except they're not really regulating their emotions, they're just dumbing their emotions down. It's kind of like putting a sticky plaster over an infected wound, isn't it? You know, you can put a sticky plaster over an infected wound and it might look okay for a while, but then as the infection spreads, your wound's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Problems only go away when we solve them. Tensions only go away when we manage them. Problems and tensions don't go away when we just pretend they're not there or, you know, fill ourselves full of drugs and medication to forget about them or dumb ourselves down. That's just called avoidance. Hence the reason psychiatry is not a helpful area of profession, expertise, call it what you want, all right? I don't find anything much valuable in this whatsoever, and cognitive psychology exists to help people understand themselves for the purposes of overcoming themselves rather than having to go to doctors and get diagnosed with things and find no solutions to the problems and take medication. All right, don't get me wrong, right? What I'm not saying here is medication isn't helpful. For some people who are, you know, really in a place of distraughtness in life, sometimes medication can save people's lives, and it can do, all right? Until they've found themselves back in a place where they're actually ready to invest into developing themselves. But until a person's committed to actually developing themselves and learning and growing and improving themselves, which only each individual can take responsibility for, then a person might find themselves dependent or reliant on the service of another for anything up to a lifetime. And this is what we would refer to as dependency or codependency. In the same way as a baby is dependent on its mother, sometimes fully grown adults also become dependent on another, a therapist, a counsellor, or something like this. And that's not a mature or a healthy way to live life. All right, so I'm talking some people out of a job here, right? Unfortunately, right? But listen, you know, you might want to disagree with this, and that's okay. So how could you peacefully coexist with uncertainty, right? What would it mean if there's actually no guarantee you're even going to wake up tomorrow morning, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. There's no guarantee you're going to get anything that you want in this life. There's no guarantee that you're going to live to tell the tale. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to keep your job. There's no guarantee that you're going to keep the loved ones that you have in your life for the next 5 years. Now, I'm not saying these things to depress you or sadden you, but more than anything to wake you up to yourself. All right? Uncertainty is life. There are no guarantees but one, and this is that you're going to die. Everyone that you know is going to die. Everyone that you love is going to die. You know, everyone dies at some point. This is life. It's the only thing that's guaranteed. Everything else outside of that is uncertain at best. But most people get stressed out because of uncertainty. What would life actually look like for you if you were to make peace with uncertainty? If uncertainty was to become a friend, what might this look like for you? So give it some consideration. Come on, I'm doing my best to help you along the road here. Upon what basis do you make important decisions in life? Do you make emotions just because do you make decisions, just because you feel like they're the right decisions to make, or do you make decisions because you've carefully thought them through, because you've explored all options, and you know the decisions that you make are wise, they're well informed, they're carefully considered, or are they sporadic at best? Upon what basis do you make your decisions? So we're not looking at really accruing any kind of answers that we want to be building and basing our lives upon. Rather, this is just about you becoming a bit more aware of yourself, right? How do you feel about growing your cognitive capacity, right? Is it okay to not have all the answers? Is it okay to grow? Because for some people, it's not okay to grow. For some people, they just want to be healed by someone. Some people are waiting for a hero to come into their lives and fix them. And this isn't what cognitive psychology or cognitive behavioural therapy is about. Cognitive behavioural therapy is essentially about us as cognitive behavioural experts communicating with people in a way that is going to enable them and help them to shift and expand their perspective until they see that the only way they're going to be able to move forward in life and overcome their solutions in life is when they take responsibility for sourcing their own solutions to the problems that they have and for taking responsibility for managing the tensions that are in their life. Now, this is a big idea for a lot of people, right? Hence the reason we don't just kind of, when people come to us with problems, we don't just say, oh yes, you've got to go and find these problems for yourself, all right? The key is taking people on a journey. It's a journey of insight, all right? We want to remain compassionate. Of course, we've got to understand that people are at different stages of the journey. So what we say and how we say what we say will determine whether people actually come on the journey with us or not. For now, though, I've taken you on a bit of a journey. I'm going to stop talking and leave these questions with you. Because when we ask ourselves big questions, they can sometimes lead to answers that change or that can completely transform the way in which we view things, and sometimes even the way in which we view ourselves. So give yourself as long as you need to. Reflect upon these questions. The resource that you'll be able to print off and download has the question at the top of the page, and then ample space for you to brainstorm, mind map, do whatever you need to do, right, to figure out what some of your honest responses may be. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next clip, where we're now just going to focus right in upon mindset.